Limitless Comedy, episode 1546. I used to think that Hecklefish was a goldfish who would be expensive. I used to think that. I still think he's expensive, but now I'm in the frame of mind of what if Hecklefish could get me return on
The moon landing was fake.
investment? To that I reply, Sputnik. To that I also ask you, do you even know what Soviet Union basically did but fell just short, which was instituting their own moon effort. I used to think that American Express was a ginormous ripoff. American Express, don't leave home without it. Why don't I just use Visa? Now that I know what I know, I realize American Express, it's the best deal ever. Am I financially benefiting from having that opinion? Yes. I used to think that renting was throwing money away. It is. But it's not burning it in a firestorm of money the way that a mortgage is, because there's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, plus a downside. I used to think that having a mortgage and paying it off would make me feel rich. The things we own end up owning us, because how many places can we simultaneously live in? Is property a good investment? Are we thinking about property and life expenses properly? No. Is this deeply understood capital knowledge? Nope. That's my day job. This is Limitless Comedy. I used to think that comedians who did stand-up were doing something that I could do it. Let me try. I could do it. I could do great at it. What makes stand-up comedy hard is having to have a high EQ, where we could say, darn it, my stream is glitching, or we could say, it's late night comedy with Larry Chang. Because not that stitches need glitches, it's that I wish I cared about technical difficulty. I wish I wanted likes, subscribers. Because what I really need is not more stand-up comedy material. What I aspire to do is more live streams where I am more honest and not mortgaging my credibility just for a chuckle. Comedians, when they would tell a story, I would believe them, even though they'd say, bro, these are just jokes. That's weak sauce. That's a person who didn't care enough to observe the world, because living in 2025, the jokes absolutely write themselves. For example, jokes writing themselves. political figures doing anything for money. It didn't surprise me one iota that the first thing that a powerful politician does is puts money in their pocket. John has chimed in with saying, "Hi, how are you? Welcome to Comedy Night with repeat visitor Duck D's. Duck D's, let's make jokes on the fly, not from hecklers, because hecklers be damned, I roast hecklers. Duck D's, can you confirm that when people come at me, I obliterate people? So this is the game we're gonna play. We're gonna make jokes of whatever you guys talk about. Yes, I have a script. Your job is to give a topic, and then I will riff, rap, conjure, and engineer jokes together based on what you guys talk about. This way, we get better. This way, it's comedy on hard mode where I'm looking at a script, I'm concentrating on delivery while I'm doing crowd work. Do you know how hard crowd work is in a monologue where the screen is like a mirror? Practicing speeches. I used to think practicing into a mirror was a good idea. It is not a good idea. Practicing into a video camera that is set 15 feet away, where you have to look for the lens, which is why some YouTube content creators just feel off. Why? Because they're looking at the screen and they're getting too much feedback. You can tell when a person practices into a mirror because they're kind of going cross-eyed while they read a teleprompter, which is their screen. Are we doing this? No, we're not. But we're also being NPCs where we're not playing the game. Duck D's. 5 jokes that are Duck D's torpedoes. Cancel culture died, but that doesn't mean that you still won't get a torpedo in the water. Let's Duck D's landmines, which is Duck D's joke number 3. Let's go. Because cancel culture and Me Too basically died, but just like the last days of a war, we are in danger, because right before a war truly ends, that's when it's highest amount of danger. Why? Because our guard goes down, which is why you want to duck these SA allegations. Is this where consent already took place, but there's still an allegation? Yes. This is why we get to drop these jokes, because if you're on date number 2 through date number 6 and it's go time, you better have a Larry Chang waiver. What is a Larry Chang waiver? Goal, Duck D's allegations. Goal, Duck D's bank account infringements, where she says, look, nobody wins in a legal civil battle. Why don't you just give me $31 million, Shannon Sharp, and I won't sue you for some civil charge wagered. That's ducking D's Shannon Sharp torpedoes. Duck D's nuts. By sharing your real cell phone number and my real email address, we are not ducking these crazy people that will then say, keep my name out of your mouth. What? Where I'm not going to say you meet all sorts of crazy people, because I meet some terrific people. But some people are not the most stable. Thoughts on Nick and Tucker? Here are my thoughts. The jokes do write themselves because Why? Because during the interview, there was 5 generations between them, where I would think that they're 1 generation apart. They're 5 generations apart. This is why the jokes write themselves. You see, in San Francisco, there are climates. One part of Silicon Valley is hot as fuck. The other part of Silicon Valley, San Francisco, it's winter jacket month, to the point where the quote of Mark Twain, the coldest winter I've ever been to is summer in San Francisco. Because one region is cold and the other region's hot, there's this thing called microclimates. I bring up microclimates because I figured out during their interview that there's a thing called microgenerations, where depending on where you were during COVID, made you either super mature, which the young guy was, because people who are 4 years younger than the young guy in that interview are 1/10 the maturity. And I argue it's because of microgenerations. It's because of people splicing their maturity different because of economic cycles. Where were you during the GFC, the global financial crisis? Were you a kid where you had no idea what your parents were going through, or were you somewhat cognizant? And kind of like when people would go to war, they would come back after 2 tours and they would be 2 decades older. Ditto COVID, where if COVID was your first EQ, emotional quotient test, you either got stunted in maturity or accelerated. Therefore, in the interview, there aren't 1 or 2 generations of separation. It's 5 generations. Here's the example of, hey, young guy, why are you single? Oh, because of feminism. And the old guy was like, really? This is what happens when you are out of the dating game. Because just like microclimates, there are vintages, like Napa wine releases, where year to year, the vintages are ginormously affected due to moisture, due to rainfall, due to growing conditions, due to harvesting, due to a myriad of factors. That's vintages of wine. Ditto vintages of Stanford professional athletes. Ditto vintages of women who are plus or minus the young guy's age, 27, plus or minus 5. Why? Because when you're 27 dating a 29-year-old or 27 dating a 23-year-old, those vintages got affected by COVID. You can't tell me that if the last 2 years of college were doing COVID lockdown, that you don't get affected. Larry, what's your favorite memory in your life so far? One memory makes you smile the most, whatever is about. My favorite memory is going to the beach with my mom before she passed away. My favorite memory is this video because we're gonna make this video jaw-droppingly amazing. Are we off to a rough start? No, I've had rougher starts. Is this video smash bang awesome in the first 15 minutes? It's been okay. Let's turn this video into making the memory. Benji chiming in with, Larry is the fucking man. Thank you. Is this Limitless Comedy? You bet it is. We're gonna play a game. The game we're gonna play is you say something and I make jokes about it, which is Tucker Carlson going on a dating dive where his last guest was the triple threat of male gigolo, which is 1, male gigolo, 2, the 50 Shades of Grey romance novel. Is this Morning Glory Milking Farm? Yeah. You don't want to look that up because you're going to have really bad dreams. DJ, club promoter, male gigolo. So his guest is a double bookended male gigolo. Is there something wrong with being a male prostitute? No. Why? Because when the penis is outside of the body, it's not quite as dirty as something that is inside of the body. And also the way that DNA transfers. Remember, this is Limitless Comedy. This is male gigolo jokes writing themselves. Because when men play the game, it's on hard mode, but on the other side of it, it's easy mode. What I'm talking about is this. There's an onslaught of male loneliness right now. Why? Because the egalitarian, the equality that needed to take place at all costs, men paid the majority of that cost. Is this bad? No, it's just unique. And because it's different and unique, what happens is, on the other side of it, men can actually benefit. This is what I'm talking about. So, chapter 1 of a genius book called What They Don't Teach You at Stanford Business School, which is free on AI, is you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Here's the example when it comes to dating. You're damned if you do pay for dinner, you're damned if you don't pay for dinner. What happens when you do pay for dinner? Well, she's just gonna be like, oh, cool, I found a beta male. You're damned if you don't pay for dinner. Why? Because she's going to Google you or stalk you using AI, and then she's gonna be like, oh my God, this person's worth 10 figures, 3 commas, and we went Dutch for dinner. Do you see how these jokes write themselves? Because you can't win with women, but then you meet a guy like Larry Chang, and then you're like, hey, what would you do? I'm kind of in a bind here. This is what you do. Completely out of the box, which is you have her completely pay for everything. What? I didn't even know that that was on the menu, which is there are 2 options. Guy pays, or you split the bill. No, 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 no. It's Occam's razor. The simplest solution is sometimes the best. That's physics. This is 2025 reality, which is the funniest option is your best option. Because the most funny option within Limitless Comedy is where the guy pays 0, where the guy never pays any money. Is this soft guy era? Is this drizzle drizzle? Is this a business model that you are not yet familiar with? Business model. Typically it's referred to. Ready? You want a treat? Business model. It's typically where we analyze the company and then we say, what is your methodology and engineered method for bringing money in the door? Ask model is how do you allocate time, money during dates? Do you always take people to a sporting event? Do you do the low cost date called let's go get coffee? Do you go to the batting cages where you press a secret button for free play mode? Is date number 4 always at a bar right across the street from your 3-bedroom Miami condominium? Is date number 2, date number 6, always on your friend's boat? Your friend being your alter ego because you're Batman and it's Bruce Wang's boat. That's ass model, that's business model for how you typically plan out dates like you're a planner. Or your business model, ass model, is you go out in Miami at 11:45 p.m. and you just do a lap and pick out what you like. That's ass model. That's your model for dating. Where's the funny part in this, Larry? You're supposed to be telling jokes. Here's the funny part, is when you have only one ass model, you typically will do this. Where if she's a super hot Victoria's Secret model, you then say, oh, I bet I will spend as much as possible, therefore it'll be amazing. Remember, your customer, the person you're trying to persuade, there is no accountability or rationale. You're dealing with a female who's emotional. This is why if you think, oh, intuitively, I should try to be as nice as possible and take a shower, You just answered your own question with you're definitely not going to take a shower, not that day. I'm talking if you're going to go out with her on Thursday, stop showering on Tuesday. When you get to the restaurant, don't even make a reservation and show up. If you're trying to get her to break up with you, show up 15 minutes early. If you're trying to get her into bed, show up an hour late. It's anti-gravity time. It's topsy-turvy. It's doing things that are counterintuitive. You see, there are these checklist checkboxes that give women the ick. This is also talked about in that interview between Nick and Tucker, where you give women the ick, where it's wired to short circuit, it's wired to be full of landmines. This is what the ick is. The ick is you're damned if you do take her to somewhere nice, you're damned if you don't. Giving her the ick of he was on time or he was an hour late. The ick of, oh, he had the reservation all ready to go. They already knew him there. Or they wouldn't give us a table. That also gave me the ick. Or giving you the ick of, why would I make a reservation when I could just tip $5 bills? Where, what is dating? Dating is identifying a mask that you're going to use as you market yourself in a way that impresses people with your mask. Are you going to shower? Are you going to go home after work, put on clothes that you didn't wear to work? Or are you going to put on the mask of, oh yeah, I did go home to shower, but I wear clothes like this all the time? Or going home after work, putting on crappy clothes? Or going home to change into clothes that look horrible but cost $2,000? Because what you're signaling there is that whole neutral colors landed wealth, where you could dress like that, or you could go buy clothes from Goodwill that you only wear during date 1 or 2. This is why. Because most guys have one shtick. They have one closing move. They have one place to live. They just do the one thing and they have no flexibility. And I'm not saying be a psychopath like Larry Chang and have 9 different options, because sometimes a tool belt and the sweat stains from a tool belt, that gets some women's juices flowing. Whereas some women want you to never have played a college sport. Why? Because they got pumped and dumped by a D1 or pro basketball player. Now she's allergic to all men that have less than 11% body fat. You can tell. You can tell. And if you can't tell, send me a picture of her and I'll do a reading. Not like a fortune teller reading. I'll do a vagina whisperer reading, which is you send me pictures, you show me a couple of texts, you give me some basic psych workup, and I will easily tell you what she's looking for. Why? Because once you've been with a critical mass of women, you understand all women. Now, do I use this understanding to abuse women to get legs to open? Yes, but not in the way that you think, going all the way. I'm talking about understanding women's chemicals as it applies to making equal the gender pay gap, which kind of doesn't exist. But what does exist is risk within entrepreneurship, being able to understand how women digest and adopt risk. Things I used to think. I used to think that having a blonde dog would make people think I'm gay. Not gay. He's super cute, right? I just brushed him. He's super fluffy. Brady, you're so fluffy and nice. Do you want me to do your eye drops? I'll do your eye drops. You guys have been very calm. I don't miss all the people that would spam, but that would be possible. Brady's zipper can't be down because Brady doesn't have a zipper. And if you're talking about the new trend, which is default zipper down, that's like a brand new thing that's going to be all the rage. Why? Because we're not going to just let super cool people be the trendsetters. We're going to be default zipper down. Why default zipper down? Default zipper down because Top Gun, we're getting chased. I'm going to turn off missiles mode. We're going to go right to guns. You're going to do what? I'm going to bring her in closer and then go right to short range guns. That's what default zipper down is where we are default zipper down, ready to go. I used to think that people who flashed were crazy people who just wanted to show people how nude they were. Flashers who run across stadiums naked. Do you dare me to blah, blah, blah? Colette asking, when was the last time you ate spam? Colette, when was the last time you were accused of being a male robot? Flasher. The reason flashers flash is because of ass model, which is one time they accidentally flashed somebody and then now they flash all the time. Stank Nasty says, Larry's aura is immaculate. Thank you. Leandro says, what is your favorite finger? What? I'm writing the jokes here. But since you said favorite finger, I'm going to say index finger. I don't even know the names of the other fingers, so I'm just going to call it index thumb. Why? because index thumb is 6'7". 6'7", because index is 7 and thumb is 6. Did you just trick me to say 6'7"? You did. You tricked me. The reason thumb index is because here thumb index is A-OK, where you could say, what is my favorite finger? Or you could say, Larry, throw me a gang sign that your gang, your tribe throws. Here is my thoughts on the tribe. Sacred Daughters of the Torah, SDT, AE-Phi, APEC. I used to think that there was an onslaught of influence. I didn't know that. I didn't know. Brady, did you know? I didn't know. Brady, you're such a cute little bear. You look like a sea otter. You look like a sea otter upside down. You, what is that in your eyeball? Brady, you have eye boogers. Why don't you get your own eye boogers out, huh? 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 Don't bite me. Good boy. Do you guys see that viral song that was, I want to shock collar my dog? That song is hilarious. I kind of want to pull it up. I'm going to pull it up. Colette asking, when was the last time you ate Spam Musubi? Spam Musubi would be sushi instead of fish. It'd be Spam Musubi. So, I don't know. April, when I was in Hawaii. Spam Musubi. I always think when I get back home to my homes that I'm going to make Spam Musubi. I never do. What I want to do I'll tell you what I want to make in a second. I'm pulling up this video. The #1 song in the world.
I'm the founder of Mudwater, and a lot of people ask, what is the difference between Mudwater and mushroom coffee?
The top 100. Top 100, nah, there's no way this is the #1. Shock my dog, I can't stop. How popular is this? It has almost 500,000 views.
Shock my dog, I can't stop.
Oh, shit.
She better know.
The laser vision.
Gotta stay in that little place for 8 hours. She getting up, I can't allow her. Palestine, I got the power. I'm in my electric ivory tower. Why she act like such a baby?
Oh my god. Bro, what is this? Oh my god. Jesus. This is hard, bro.
I'm going to shock my dog. AI, not a bubble. I used to think that everything was a bubble. And by thinking everything was a bubble, nothing's a bubble. Because when we realize that there is nothing more inflatable than a Chinese dog with his Chinese owner doing AI, which is unstoppable, unbelievable, tripling productivity. This is how. By asking slightly better questions. I can tell immediately where a person's going by the quality and cadence of people's questions. So when you ask crappy questions that are low quality, you're telling me that 1 year from now, 5 years from now, you're going to be in the same spot. 1 year ago was 11/6/24. The reason that date's significant is I called it. I called it President number 47, time to jump ship. How well did the presidency start in the first 100 hours? Amazing, okay? Jaw-droppingly amazing. That's when I knew that someone was shooting their load all at first. That's why on 11/6/24, I quit the Republican Party that I had just joined 2 months prior because of basic facts, which to me are so basic, which are what happened to democratic processes? Once you throw that out the window, now it's a free-for-all. Now it's a free-for-all. That's why on 11/6/24, someone made the right call. That would be Larry Chang. Things I used to think, juxtaposing pain and pleasure. Tony Robbins, he's got this new AI ad campaign talking about Mark Benioff, some other Dean Grazio, and Tony Robbins doing AI. It looks like an absolute shit show. It's a 3-day conference online that's free. This is what we should do for $0, which is we should study Buddy, Unlimited Power, Tony Robbins' first book. That's $5, $4, or $6, depending on how much you purchase it for at the used book store, the used book bookstore, where we don't rely on motivational speakers to show us AI insights. Maybe we should, because it's so far. No, we shouldn't. My initial thought was correct, which is do what made the person amazing in the first place versus late stage Grant Cardone, late stage Larry Chang. Because get it? My late stage comedic content stuff is just like my early stage stuff. Why? Because I skew towards educational versus pure entertainment in part of edutainment, where I haven't progressed at all since sophomore year in college. I haven't progressed from a living standard. I haven't progressed from a maturity standard. It is a conscious effort to be this immature. How does that benefit you? Because this is early stage as I focus on our initial stage, which is how are we going to get better book to book? How are we going to get better video to video? How are we going to get better comment to comment? Larry, who's your favorite football team? My favorite football team is the football team that I'm going to be playing on Thursday morning, Thanksgiving, which is tackle football right by my parents' house. The reason that's my favorite football team is this. Thanksgiving football is a tradition. Lately, it's been getting more and more pussy, which is don't tackle people so hard, and girls want to play tackle football too. If you're wanting to play tackle football, you're going to get tackled. It's not like, oh, I'm going to let up, because it's just the one set of rules for everybody. Does that mean I'm going to lay out a kid who's half my size, who's 11 years old? Yeah. Yeah. Why? Because mentally, when I was 12 years old and I was letting up on kids who were 10 years old and half my size, that caused my psychological development to be forgiving of people who are smaller. I'm not saying be a pure psychopath all the time. I am saying that as a tall person, you need to be just as aggressive. Kind of like my dog is incredibly aggressive when it comes to talking and asking me for a treat. Pretty, you're a very good dog. Would you like a treat? This is a puppy treat. It's a digestive. What's a digestive? It's beef, pea flour, and no fillers. They call it a digestive, but it's just a real food item that's good for digestion. I used to think that Milk-Bone was a good treat. Milk-Bone is basically a piece of cardboard that's basically a piece of poison. Freshman 15. I used to think that people that ordered DoorDash and gained 40 pounds. Pretty, it's over here. You hear his cute little paws? Maybe you can't. It's okay. The freshman 15 is what would happen freshman year, where women would gain 15 pounds. Guys too. Now, there's a thing called the DoorDash 40. Why do women gain 40 pounds on DoorDash? Why do women gain 40 pounds on DoorDash? This is why. So, when you order DoorDash, food for two people, it's gonna be, I don't know, $60, $65. The restaurant, they don't sell enough food to go, which is why so many restaurants are teetering on bankruptcy. You as a consumer, you want to be able to have that food be, of course, that dinner, but you also kind of want leftovers for the day after. So now you're worried about not only quality of food, you're also worried, and affecting your judgment is quantity of food. The restaurant, they're selling two things behind the scenes, which is onions and seed oil. Why? Because onion, carrot, celery is at the base of so much of food. And I'm not gonna call it filler, but it's infused ginormously with seasonings, salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and vegetable oil. This is what causes people to gain pounds and pounds, because the food causes inflammation, because you're trying to eat enough to feel full, and it's not just empty calories, it's food meant to fatten you up, because that's the hormone for the genetically engineered food that causes us to balloon up in weight. Is that the DoorDash 40 or the Uber Eats 50? It is, because I can literally see the weight if I haven't seen the girl in 2 months. Why don't guys have this? This is why guys kind of don't, but could, obviously. Guys will have disgusting, stupid, simple meals that they'll just eat every day, such as chicken breast, or Brady eats his concocted menu. I could feed him the same thing every day. He'd be happy as a clam. Brady, do you want a purple bear? Brady, up, up, up. Brady, up. I'll give you one. Brady, come here. Up, up, up. Stay, stay, and I'll give you a stay. Where guys can eat chicken breast, carrots, chicken breast, broccoli, chicken, rice, beans. Guys can eat this all the time and not even be like, oh, damn, it's my same dumb dinner. Where guys can eat cheeseburger every day, or whatever frozen salmon cooked, where I would be like, what are you going to eat for dinner? Oh, I'm just going to cook this salmon. I'm like, are you going to cook that frozen? And then he's like, yeah, that's how I cook it. I cook it frozen. How many times a week do you eat that? 5, 6. This is why guys don't gain weight, is their $8 meal that they cook themselves is high in protein and kind of low in fat, and might be kind of plain, but it way beats delivered food. Why is delivered food so mush tasting? It's mush tasting because, one, it was cooked almost 1 hour ago. Mush tasting the ingredients, mush tasting the container. What the F is going on with America's love for biodegradable food containers, where it's degrading en route to arriving at your place? Oh, but my restaurant that I DoorDash, it involves high quality plastic. That plastic breaks down because they throw hot fried food in that plastic container. I can literally see the plastic Tupperware warping. Is that what causes people to get fat? Did this video help you? Are we going to be able to hang out in the future? Was this a good time? Thanks for tuning in, you guys.